StreamYards. Oh, I wasn't even live on StreamYards. Oh my gosh. So I didn't even get to. Oh, I missed telling YouTube the whole case. Oh gosh, StreamYards. I thought I went live on StreamYards, but I didn't. Oh wow. Do I need to go over this case again for a second time? Go over the Gypsy Rose and the Long Island Lolita case real quick again? The case of Amy Fisher, who back in 1992, when we didn't have the internet, BBS systems were still out, Windows 93 was about to come out, Microsoft was finally getting in the game and creating us an operating system because we were working on with DOS. You turned on your computer, you immediately had DOS to work with. You put in DOS commands, blah, blah, blah. Oh gosh, can't believe I wasn't live on YouTube. I shouldn't have used StreamYards. Oh man. I hope my mic is on. I think it is on. Yeah, I think my mic is on. I can't see a little monitor for it, so it makes me worry. So I guess I'll give YouTube a quick rundown, I guess. Oh my gosh, here we go again. I didn't know there. I thought I hit go live and I thought I put in all the information of the show and everything. Hey, Nino. Hi. And I thought I put in all the information of the show. Okay, so we're going to talk. Okay, so Amy Fisher had a very rough relationship with her dad growing up. It was kind of rough, and her mom was the softer one that she got along with. And when she was 16, her dad did get her a car, and she was excited and hugging her mom until her dad put all the strict rules on it, and then she rolled her eyes and she was very rebellious against her dad because her dad ruined her fun of everything. And she was 16. She was very promiscuous because she hated her dad. She was very, sexual. She did what she wanted to do, and no one was going to stop her. Just like Gypsy, nobody was going to stop Amy Fisher. If she decided to do something, she would just stomp out that door and do it. Nobody was going to stop Amy Fisher from doing what she had to do. And then she wrecked her car, and her dad had to take it into a shop. And when they took it into a shop, he took it into a shop owned by Joey Buttafuoco. And that's how Amy met him and got obsessed with him and kept wrecking her car over the next year just to see him until July of 1991 when he finally caved when Amy was 17, 16, 17-ish, and caved in, did the deed with her a couple of times, and then he was done with the little girl. He often had his he often paid for uh girls. Let's just say girls. I'm like, what word can I use? He often paid for girls, and it was well known around his shop because he always bragged about it, but his wife didn't know about it because he kept it from his wife. He kept all his cheating ways from his wife until Amy, when she got obsessed. And just like Gypsy Rose, there was one woman standing in her way. So both Gypsy Rose and Amy are young little girls who are dating married men that are in their early 30s. And there's one woman standing in their way. In Gypsy's, it was Dee Dee, and then she thought she could be with Dan. And in Mary Jo's case, or no, Amy's case, it was Mary Jo Buttafuoco, Joey's wife, that he had been high school sweethearts with and known since high school. So, however, like I said, these cases are taking place in two very different time frames. Well, Amy tried to talk her friends into doing it for her. She tried to talk her friends into doing the schmurder for her. But And she even knocked on the door, got Mary Jo to come out on the porch, but the friend hesitated, couldn't do it. So Amy was like, fine. And she even traded her body, I'll say, her body, you know, what she traded, just like Gypsy with Nick. Both of them, their transaction for helping with the murder was, they got it afterwards. And so Amy finally procured a gun between money and sexual things and got somebody to drive her over to Mary Jo's house, where she went up there, knocked on the door again, got Mary Jo to come out and talk to Mary Jo. She was very hesitant about doing it herself. She was scared, so she quickly grabbed Mary Jo and shot her and ran. And yes, she did get shot in the head. And luckily, the ambulance was called right away. They think the neighbors saw it and saw Amy leave in a car with the boy. And so it was known that there was a boy driver in the car. And so she was caught and Mary Jo picked her up. So Mary Jo goes to the hospital. They tell Joey she's not going to make it through the night. I mean, she's shot badly in the head. That's a no survival thing, No. That's you don't survive unless you're as strong as Mary Jo, who did survive to end up prosecuting, to see Amy being prosecuted that year. In December of 1992, just over 6 months after the incident, she was convicted. Amy was convicted and sentenced. The minimum was 5 years, the maximum was 15. My hair's not cooperating today, it's not staying slick. And so she was to stay 5 to 15 years. And so there was parole somewhere in there, because that's how you get out between 5 to 15. So she had to at least serve a minimum of 5 before she could hit up her first parole board. And then trying to think. And then she got out, and she heard the right side of her face was kind of paralyzed, and when she talked, it was, or the left side, her face was lopsided and everything. And by the time I was finally an adult by the time Amy Fisher, in 1999, a judge in Washoe County, for some reason, changed Amy's sentence from 5 to 15 years, a maximum of 15, to a maximum of 10, which made her immediately available for parole, because she had served 2 years over her minimum and she was 3 away from her max. So she went to parole, and my fingernail came off. In May of 1999, she was paroled. And just like Gypsy. So I was also talking about, so when all this went down in 1992, for gossip, all we had was newspapers and TVs. And this is where the catchphrase, getting your 15 minutes of fame, comes in. Because back in the early 90s, we coined that term because talk shows were an hour long, but they did 15-minute segments, because people only have like a 15-minute attention span, kind of. And so they did 15-minute segments, and then they would change guests. You go up there, you get your 15 minutes. So this is where they coined the term, getting your 15 minutes of fame. It was actually from this era because of, yeah, because of the talk shows. The talk shows was you were getting your 15 minutes of fame. So anyways, she came out, and in 1999 MySpace was there, Ask Jeeves was still there, Google was kind of there, but Google wasn't the thing it is now. Like, Google was still growing. Microsoft was getting there. I mean, they pissed everybody off with Vista and Windows 2000. Those were bad ones. Every other, like 93 was okay. I think 95 started the best one, and then, like, they say every other one is good. Like, I think Windows 97. Then, yeah, then there was 97, then 99 and Vista and 2000 and all of that. Sorry, tangent about. So she got out, and guess what? The first thing she did is she tried to go beyond her 15 minutes of fame. She wrote 2 books on being Amy and her crime and everything, profiting off her crime. Girl, you're doing it too. Her and Joey got together and were kissing on and loving on each other on talk shows. They went on a few talk shows. They were trying to get onto reality shows. Reality shows were barely coming around also, because I think it was in 97 ish that MTV came out with The Real World, and that's what made people notice real world living situations. Um, and so then that was another way to get famous, was to get on a, yeah, one of those shows. And so they did. They tried to get their shows. They wrote books. They were in all the tabloids, the newspapers. Their names were splattered everywhere, except for they didn't get their reality show. Gypsy got her reality show, but they didn't get their reality show. They tried. And like I said, I can see that if Amy was in Gypsy's decade, oh gosh, she would be doing the same thing as Gypsy. However, Amy is now laying low, changing her name. She doesn't want anybody to know who she is. And as long as she steers away from the name Lolita, she'll be fine. Possibly. I don't even know if anybody knows what she looks like, because she spent 7 years in jail. So she was like 17 ish, 18 when she went in, and she comes out 7 years later in her late 20s, quite the adult looking. It'd be a little hard to recognize her probably, but you would. And so, I mean, that's the quick version I gave. That's pretty much it of what happened. And so, yeah, I was just thinking if there's anything else I know on the case. I mean, there is a lot to both cases, but like I said, you have 2 young girls who are very promiscuous and use shucks, smacks to get what they want, to get people to help them do bad crimes that you shouldn't be doing. They both were dating men who were married and in their early 30s. And there was one woman standing in each of their way or in their mind. See, Gypsy thought Dee Dee was in her way, and once Dee Dee was out of the picture, she'd have Dan. And in Amy's mind, Joey would never ask for a divorce because he loves his wife tremendously. They're high school sweethearts. She doesn't know anything about any of his cheating with paid women or Amy or anybody else. So, um, okay, where did I leave off? Okay, sorry. I keep thinking and going into other thoughts about this case. And so they are two very, very similar cases, just put in two different time frames. Like I said, in my time frame, it was getting on a talk show and reality show. That was your 15 minutes of fame, and then you were famous for a minute, but then everybody quickly forgot you. You kind of drifted off into nowhere. And yeah, Dr. Phil wasn't even, I think, around in 99 or just barely starting to come around. And no, I think Dr. Phil was just barely starting to come around. So you have Dr. Phil in 1999 who's even just barely coming around. He hasn't fully coming around yet. And so I found it funny how everybody was talking about how Amy was just chasing fame the whole time she got out. She just was chasing fame. And but she didn't have the internet to really do it on. But she did eventually just disappear into, because our generation, we didn't want to hear it. We didn't want to make her famous. And that's why a lot of people that are my age from my generation are streaming and coming out about Gypsy Rose, because I mean, in our generation, we didn't put up with murderers or people who were attempted murderers unless it was self-defense and you can prove without a doubt it's self-defense. Nobody wanted you to be famous. Nobody cared about you. Nobody. And so she didn't get as famous as Gypsy because the TikTok wasn't even thought up of yet. TikTok, I don't think was even thought of yet. Things were just barely coming around for us in 1999, early 2000s. Instagram, all that was just barely starting to pop up here and there, and Twitter and Facebook, which are almost the same thing. Facebook is pictures in a story, Twitter is story, but you can put up pictures, which is really dumb because that basically makes it Facebook in a way without all your info, though. You don't have all your info on there. So, because if somebody finds your Facebook, they know your name, your address, your phone number, blah, 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 because you listed on there. Not mine, though. Just kidding. So, anyways, I'm like, just in case you were thinking, these girls are very, very similar. Like I said, when I was thinking about Gypsy's case, and because I really wanted things differently by now. I wanted to be moved and stuff and whatnot, but I never got moved. Anyways, tell me what you think about their story. I want to go lay down for a minute before I gotta travel. Sorry, YouTube. You missed a big rant and everything. I tried to give you the best version I had kind of here about our little Long Island Lolita, who, and I was joking because she's a Long Island Lolita, which means she's from New York, which means she's the Yankee Lolita. Because I was like, what do we call Gypsy? The Missouri, the Springfield Lolita, the Southern, the Cajun Lolita. Oh, the Southern. Well, maybe that's why they're fighting. Yankees for no. So it's like, go get it. Maybe she wanted to be a Yankee, not a Southern. They do have nice homes in the South. The South is very well built, built, not bit, built. So, anyways, all right. I think that's about it. I think I think that's pretty much. I think I recovered. I recovered everything that I already covered. So, gosh darn it. Maybe if you want, I'll redo it and go deeper into the cases. I shouldn't have. First of all, whatever. Um, oh gosh, I is my second time working StreamYards. I didn't know I wasn't live. I gotta learn this live thing. I gotta learn to. Where's that? Learn to work with this dashboard thingy or whatever. Uh-oh. Okay, hold on. I gotta hit that cancel button. Okay. Hey, Rosie Posey. How old am I? Quite a few decades old. Just kidding. Because, yeah, I was, when this case was going on in 1992, I was 11 years old. And when she got out of prison in 99, I was 18. And so I remember this more towards the end of the case because when Amy got let out of prison, I mean, even to this day, Mary Jo is still being more. I think Mary Jo, and that's probably a better way to do it. Mary Jo did get more of the fame than Amy did. More people are interested in constantly interviewing Mary Jo and checking in and seeing how she's doing because this poor woman lived in when she shouldn't have. No, I'm 42. I'll be 43 in August. So, midlife ish. So I was, yeah, kind of I was young when the case started on the Long Island Lolita. But I do remember often during the 7 years that because in 1992 is when I started watching crime stuff because I was in the 6th grade in 1992 and I had got, I don't know what happened, but me and two of my siblings had broke out in a full body rash. And for some reason my rash got so out of control. Like I had blisters all over my hands. I couldn't even move my hands because I had this big blister in between my finger. And so I couldn't move my hands. I had the and I was like, I could move my right hand a little bit, and I couldn't, or my left hand, I couldn't move my right hand at all because that blister would hurt so bad. And so I had a month off of school. There was a month where they wouldn't let me go to school because they thought I would infect the other children. And that's when OJ Simpson happened too. And so I was watching a lot of crime TV at that time because OJ was a big deal. Nothing was on TV at that time. Like TV's always sucked. And so I was off of school for a month and there was nothing much I could do because all of this was affecting my hands. So all I could do was just sit on the couch and watch TV all day while my parents worked and my siblings were at school. My dad finally took me to the doctor. They got me some penicillin. I started soaking my hands in salt baths 3 times a day. I finally got better, got back to school. But during that time, I got to watch this case, the Mary Jo and Amy Fisher case, Joey Buttafuoco case, the Long Island Lolita. I got to watch the OJ Simpson one go down. And so I was 12 at the time when all this happened. And I remember little bits of it and everything going down because I was home from school. I had nothing else to do but watch that O.J. Simpson trial. And I am going to do another video. I've been preparing one about Nicole Brown Simpson. I think it's going to be interesting. I'm going to tie it to another case too, just kind of like I'm doing with this one. I like tying cases together and talking about why they're tied together and why they match. This one matches because you got two rebellious girls who are rebelling from their parents. Amy's rebelling from a set of two parents, whereas Gypsy's just rebelling from the one parent. Kind of. I mean, until Missouri, I mean, Rod was in her life, and it wasn't exactly like they had two parents because Rod wasn't there every single night. But trying to think. Yeah, so you got two little girls who use their bodies and sexual ways to get their friends to do stuff for them. They tried to get somebody else to do the crying. Gypsy was successful, whereas Amy wasn't successful. That's why she had to go back and do it herself. And she wasn't successful in that either. And so I bet, Amy was tremendously surprised when she wasn't. Yeah. Okay. I get that now. Okay. So, yeah, so we got two cases that are very similar, just different time frames. Because, like I said, Amy came out after 7 years. She got paroled after 7 years for attempted murder, and she wrote two books, tried to hit up fame, talk shows. Her and Joey tried to get a reality show to document their little, that they really are in love and that they're back together. He was just waiting for Amy to get out of prison because he loves her so much. But eventually she found out it wasn't the case. Like, I wonder what Joey did. We have an idea of what Dan did because we think Dan was there on the 9th. Gypsy told him that she was meeting her boyfriend on the 9th. Now, was that boyfriend Nick or was that boyfriend Dan? So, yeah. So, yeah, like I said, just to imagine, because now Amy has just, she didn't become famous off of it. Back then in 1999, I mean, YouTube was around and there was YouTube videos, but not many people were doing them. People weren't streaming like this really. And because nowadays people just stream and talk and do video essays, kind of like I do. You draw up your script or your notes. Mine is more notes than script. I draw up my notes on the case so that I make sure I don't forget anything. I pinpoint everything I want to say. Yep. And so that's what I do. I kind of pinpoint and be like, all right, I made my notes. I'm gonna look at, I either make it in. Do you guys want me to do episode 2 of Why Women Kill? Do you want me to do an episode, the show? I finished the first and second season of that show. Should I do it episode by episode or should I just do one big video and talk about the whole show? do one episode on the season 1 and then do a second episode on season 2. What's fun about What Women Kill is the first season was unique with one house, 3 occupants over 3 different decades. So it shows you that they're having similar troubles in 3 separate decades and how each woman in those decades handled it. Kind of like I'm talking right now about how Gypsy and Amy, similar cases, 2 different decades. Now, how would they handle them in the 2 separate decades? Amy did try to handle it by herself. She couldn't. So, yeah. I like doing comparisons like that. Like earlier, I did the Gypsy Rose and Charles Manson because they are a lot alike. However, decades matter because they had different mediums to work with to control people in those different decades. So each of these people that commit crime, and when they commit the same crime in a different decade and get similar punishment or a harsher punishment, it's kind of interesting to see where we were at as a society with all of that. So, yeah. Sorry, I was thinking about my upcoming case real quick. I got a lot of cases in my head. So I wanted to go ahead and do this one today before I had to go on my trip real quick. I got to call the bus soon and get going to my appointment. My appointment's only 5 minutes. And so I got to call the bus right back as soon as I get there. I basically got to call the bus right back. Depends on how close I get there to 2:30. I shouldn't be gone long, hopefully. And then I can come back and stream and we can talk about whatever you guys want. Just DM me if you want to talk about a certain something. But I think this is funny because I think these two, Gypsy Rose and Okay Gypsy, do not reach out to Amy Fisher. You guys are not going to make a good set of friends because you guys are both terrible, evil human beings who tried to unalive people who had, of course, they stood in the way of your boyfriend. Your boyfriend was married with kids. Of course, they wanted to stand in your way. You can't just go breaking up life and people and whatnot, you know? All right. I love you guys. I got to get to traveling. Um, but I will be back soon. But I hope you like the comparison. Let me know down in the comments section. Thank you, Rosie Posey and Nino, for coming in on YouTube and saying hi. I hope you guys like the comparison and maybe you'll look further into both cases. Like I said, they both got paroled early and expected fame. They both wrote books right out of prison. They both went on media tours. They both, tried, but Gypsy succeeded in the spotlight, whereas Amy Fisher eventually pulled out of the spotlight, changed her name, and is trying to live a quiet life where nobody knows her and lead a normal life. So Gypsy keeps saying she's gonna do that. She keeps promising us she's gonna do that. Do you think she's actually gonna go through with it? Because she keeps promising it. Well, Gypsy, Amy did it. You can do it too. Because you're not going to be an advocate. So don't even bother staying online. You know what? put your family in a group text and you can shake your ass and send them a picture of you shaking your ass on a family group text. We don't need to see that on TikTok. You don't have to have a TikTok to stay in touch with your family. You guys can do a group Facebook post, a group text message. There's so many other platforms to use besides TikTok if you want to share private stuff with your family. I know because me and my family, we do group texts. We have family group texts where we tell each other everything. So we keep in touch that way. Gosh darn it, where's that mouse? There it is. It's like, crap, where did I leave that mouse? All right, YouTube, stay safe, stay warm, stay loved, stay happy. I will see you soon, guys. And I hope you loved the cases. I hope I explained them well. If I didn't, I can explain them more. I hope I explained both cases well. I didn't go deep into a rabbit hole on both. I kind of went into a tiny rabbit hole and just kind of gave a lot of surface information on the cases. So, love you guys. Here's your boy. I'll see you when I get back from my appointment. I'll have to decide when I'm going to do my other case. It doesn't have to deal with Gypsy Rose, but I think it's going to be interesting. I tried to email Fancy and get her to do it with me, but she didn't email me back. Because I thought, you know what? It'd be fun to collab with Fancy on a non Gypsy Rose case. And I know Fancy knows these two cases in and out that I will be talking about. I know she knows the in and outs of them. Because once again, we were both live in the 90s forum. Because me and Fancy are about the same age too, I think. All right, you guys, have fun. Love you.